Hey guys, MonsterMatt here, and welcome to Absolver. Now, this is not going to be a full series game because, honestly, I'm not really sure how I would go about doing that. The game is very freeform. I'll explain more as I go into it, but I've been playing a lot of this game the past few days. Some friends of mine recommended it, thanks guys, and it has been amazing. I have never been so angry at a game while actually enjoying myself, not even Dark Souls. So let's get right into it, and I'll show you what I mean. Now, you can, of course, choose your character's, skin tone, which has its own regional equivalent, like Ice Marshes, Orate, the Tear, or Tear, I'm not actually sure, the Urings, Lake Rippas, or the Karshi, male, female, whatever you want to do. So, my main guy is an Ice Marshes male because I am from the north, and it is cold and ballsy, and I am a pale son of a bitch, so let's do something else. Let's do some racial representation. Why not? Let's be a lady too. Why not? Doesn't matter. You can change your haircut, however you want to do. I'll just close my eyes and let it pick. Let's say 3, 2, 1. Wow, right back on straight. That's okay. Fine, whatever. Hair color. Auburn. You know what? Let's go with copper. Sure, why not? Alright, now you have 3 basic fighting styles to start the game out. The Forsaken, the Kahlt method, and Windfall. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little difficulty indicator in the top right corner of that little animated square, suggesting that the Forsaken is the 3-star difficulty, Kahlt method is the 1-star difficulty, and Windfall is the 2-star difficulty. And what that is entirely based on is their mechanic. Every combat style has a mechanic. Kahlt method, you basically, if you'll notice the person on the left kind of flashes blue, that one is the easiest to do, if only because it doesn't require you to know what direction your opponent's attack is coming from. You just you just push the button, and you go, and you just sort of shrug off their head. Now, there are some moves that will break through it anyway, but it is the easiest to do, more or less, although it has other issues like a general lack of mobility, but that's just kind of the general idea that Kahlt is, push button, thing happens, win. Windfall, on the other hand, is a dodge. You have to know which direction your opponent's attack is coming from, left, right, up, or down, which means there's 4 directions, and while it's not super demanding, because, see, most attacks you can dodge in either direction. There are those that will insist that you be more specific. But overall, the Windfall dodge isn't super hard to do. You just need to be sure, if it's coming from high, low, left, or right, and have generally okay timing, and you'll be alright. Now, it's a more dexterous fighting style. It's good for moving around. I actually like it quite a bit, because one thing the dodge is good for is even if you're not dodging an attack, sorry, avoid. There's also a dodge button. That's a separate thing. I almost forgot. But the thing I like most about avoid is it's good for circling around your opponent. So even if you don't actually have to avoid one of their moves, it's still handy for getting around them. I like it. The Forsaken is arguably the best because it stuns them. It's a parry. The downside is you have to know which direction it's coming from, left or right, not up or down, just left or right, which sounds simpler, but the timing is much more finicky. Now, if you do it right, you stop them cold, stun them for a moment, and you regain some of your stamina, so you can go ahead and start punching them in the face, which is pretty amazing, but it is hard. I am bad at it, and I'm not afraid to admit that. So because we're playing this from the perspective of someone who is new at the game, let's go with Windfall because A, I like it, and B, it's fairly easy to pick up, and it's nice and mobile, so you can move around if you need to. So Windfall, sure. Name, Absolver. Well, my main character is Northern Fist Matt, so let's call this Southern Foot Matt. Absolutely, the polar opposite. Alright. And you can have more than one character as well, which is one thing that I'm quite fond of in this game. Nice little loading screen art there. It's actually a very pretty game as well. I didn't expect it to be this pretty, but it is. So the basic story, it is a bit story light. There is a story to it, but it's fairly light. It's simple. It's basically you are one of X number of recruits, and you're chosen to go forth and beat people up. You have to go take on a certain number of enemy marked ones and boss fights, and then you ascend to the ranks of the Absolvers, who, are like the guardians of this land, more or less. And these masks are rather important as well. So just wait and see how this plays out. The master, the teacher, Sensei. Oh, he likes the cut of our jib. We have been chosen. And yes, we have no like facial features. Yeah, it's a bit creepy. I think that's more of a deliberate artistic choice than anything else, but. So you take the plain old mask and you give it to the light being. And they have this thing, I believe, called is it the fold? I think it's the fold, where you can like hammer space stuff, like you can like put stuff away into nowhere and pull it back out again. And on goes the mask. And we get kaleidoscope vision. I love it. And no, the whole game does not look like this. This is just, for effect, because we have appeared in a new land. We have stepped through the Golden Light Man and appeared in a lovely little vale, a lovely little waterfall clearing. It's very nice. Okay, so this is us. You have your standard, emotes, and you can co-op with people or fight people. I don't know. You can run. Can't jump, but you can run. And your stamina bar will deplete as you run. You can't actually see it when you run, which is maybe my one itty-bitty tiny complaint, because it does actually drain your stamina as you run. And it doesn't really matter, except that if someone attacks you while you're running, that stamina needs to come back before you can use it, obviously. Very nice view. Very pretty. That's the Tower of Adal over there. We'll be getting to there in a little bit, probably. Now, as I said, I'm not doing a full rundown. This is just kind of like the tutorial area for any of you who are looking at the game and aren't sure if you want to buy it. So I'll go ahead and do the tutorial stuff. Now, I am using a controller, and I highly recommend doing so. The keyboard is available, but it's not as good. It's just not. So you can tap the right bumper to lock onto stuff. You can switch targets, pretty easily by just holding the right bumper and back and forth, and tap to unlock. Easy peasy, moving on. These guys are just statues, so they're not going to do much to you. Attack sequence. So, of course, attacks consume stamina. Oh, you're just standing there. Not a statue at all. I can't believe I didn't realize that. Oh, wow. My observation skills, not good. So, when you start off, you're basically just like button mash, and like, it works against these guys that don't fight back, but there's a little bit more to it than that. You may notice, oh, combat deck, okay. So, it's explaining stances. You see this little diamond doohickey down the bottom there? By holding down right trigger and turning around, you adjust your stance, which is more or less the direction you're facing. Well, not so much facing as like the positioning of your hips, I guess. Like, this is to the back left, to the back right, to the forward right, and to the forward left. And the reason that this matters is, once you unlock meditation, which we'll get to in a little bit, you can adjust which moves correspond to which facing. So, for right now, I'll just show you that, like, okay, we're in the top left. If I use X, it's a kick sequence, and it actually moved us from top left to top right. And it seems to more or less want to stay there. So if I go bottom left, it's more like a slap that also moves us into top right. Bottom right also moves us into top right. So the way that this default fighting style is set up is every single direction other than top right moves you to top right, which is where the rest of the moves are. Not the best thing ever, but that's just how it is. Now, as the handy-dandy tutorial is trying to tell me, there are also alternative attacks, which is based off of your Y button, which is basically they're independent moves, and each one corresponds to a facing as well. But unlike the X button presses, they don't have combos. They're just individual buttons that you can kind of flurry in, because you can activate them off of any of your other X presses or Y presses, for that matter. So let's see what the top left one is. Ooh, nice big X kick. And that also moved us into top left. So you could go from say, X kick here to Y button there. So, oh, and see, that Y button, the top right Y button moves us into the bottom left Y button. Oh, they're all set up in a chain. That's nice. Well, almost. So the top right one moves to bottom left moves us to bottom right, and bottom right moves back to top right again. So the only one getting left out in the cold is the axe kick over on upper left, but you can manually change anytime you like as well. Basically, the game's fighting style is all about fluid motion. You have to know what your moves are, where they correspond on your wheelie bobber down the bottom, and be able to flow between them. And yes, it is hard. If that sounds difficult, it's because it is. It's not difficult to get the idea of it, it is difficult to master it. Alright, so here's our first moving around opponent, up ahead, I believe. And this, this is the get punched lesson. So, guard is left button, and guard works out brilliantly, as long as you have stamina. As you can see, every time you block, your stamina goes down. Heavier moves, of course, drain more stamina. You'll also notice, maybe, that as I'm guarding, she's hitting me. You see that little circle appearing next to her health bar? That's experience, because in this game, well, not exactly experience, more like technique. You can learn other people's moves that you don't already know by guarding them. If you want to block them, or dodge them in this case, use your class mechanic, be it absorb, avoid, or parry, you can learn them faster. So by circling, by letting her attack me, and then moving out of the way with my avoid mechanic, you learn stuff. Ow. See, you learn stuff faster when you do it right. Anyway, if you do it wrong, you just get hit. Which is kind of the trade-off. So obviously, the mechanics are very powerful. They can certainly make or break a fight for you. But if you're really, really, really good with them, which I am not, then you can do all kinds of cool stuff with them. I need to. So, obviously, as you can see, big sweeping attacks, you need to go underneath. Because you try and dodge left or right, and it doesn't work out so well. Come on, hit me. Ow. Ow. Dodge into that one. Come on. I did it again. So, yeah, anyway. Point is, I'm bad at this. That red flash I just used is a power. You may notice them down in the bottom left corner. You have a certain number of shards, which are the little rocks floating next to my butt. So, you kind of have an excuse to look at your character's ass all the time, which is, whatever you want to make of it, I guess. So we just beat the crap out of this lady here. Okay. So you see how at the end it flashed the experience circles again? Because you only get to keep the experience if you win. Which is the other thing. If you run away or if you are knocked out, the experience you gain from that opponent does not count. As I said, sound hard yet? I love this game. It is a nightmare, but I love it to pieces. So here's some more helpless people just standing around. I'm gonna beat them up for experience because you do get experience and there are levels. But yes, I was explaining powers. So the rocks hanging off your butt there. You may notice that the more hits I land on this person, the more shiny that rock gets. When you beat people up enough, one of the shards will fill and it will move up closer to your back, so it's more easy to see. And each shard is basically a reserve of power, more or less. And the special moves in the bottom left corner require a certain number of shards to use. And the only one I have right now is heal because, I need to heal, thank you, I don't want to die. Alright, dodging! Oh yes, the B button is your proper dodge, which is more of a linear motion than the avoid that the Windfall has. But that is purely, so like this is avoid, like avoid is this, dodge is this. It's a bigger motion, and I think it does actually count towards learning moves. It's just not as good as the mechanic because it's bigger. Now, you may notice that occasionally while I'm spinning around like this, you will see my character glow yellow. This is your attack timing, basically. If you miss it, it takes you until the start, the full end of the animation to launch your next attack. Some attacks are fast, and that doesn't really matter. But if you hit the timing, like here, I'll just mash buttons. This is like normal, not hitting the thing. I think. Unless mashing actually works. I hope it doesn't. Yeah, okay. So just mashing, you know, the punches are still pretty fast, but if I try to get the timing... Hang on, still kind of not that great at it. Basically, one second. I'm bad at this still. But essentially, if you get good at hitting the timing, it lets you transition through your attack chain faster, so you throw at moves a lot quicker, which is definitely a good thing. Although, if you're fighting real opponents, and there is a lot of PvP in Absolver, in all fairness, sometimes intentionally missing the timing can throw your opponent off, because if you always do the same thing over and over and over again, they're going to start to learn your pattern. So occasionally it might be worth your while to throw them off by deliberately sucking. Not like a lot, but hey. That's not a... Oh, it is a thing. Does not open from this side. Oh. I don't know if I've ever actually been to that side on my regular character. I've never even noticed that was there. I am dense. Alright, so sometimes you'll find doors like this one, which have funky symbols on them. Interact, and it says, find and defeat Ceylon. So basically, the big glowing thing, the yellow glowing marker on that is the door. The orange glowing marker is the target. So for our first door, there's only one target. Not too bad. So let's go find Ceylon. Oh, hello. We have someone to fight along the way, though. So guard up. Basically, you want to start off when you're new. You're gonna be using your guard a lot because you know the opponents don't chain hits enough to get through your guard too well. I mean, a few of them might, but it's a good way to keep yourself safe. You're gonna start learning moves, and you can just kind of chill out behind your guard and figure things out. You know what I mean? Once he's done his combo, you can throw a few punches out. You know, he's not gonna guard very well because he's new. Because you know the enemies definitely seem to scale to a certain degree. Like as you level up, more difficult enemies will appear. Oh, that axe kick. Ugh. Or hammer kick, possibly. So yeah, you don't... Oh, and here is the thing that kind of grinds my gears. The thing that I'm still working on. Fighting more than one opponent at a time. NPCs will quite frequently swarm you. I have been up to like 4 or 5 at a time now. And it usually means you're going to die. Because the game does not take it easy on you in the slightest. This is not like Arkham Asylum where like one opponent clearly is coming after you. One of them will definitely take the lead. But if the other one is in range and feels like hitting you, they're gonna. And they don't always wait for the first one to be done either. Now, these ones are pretty polite because they're, you know, you're just starting the game. They're kind of dumb AI, I guess. But as the harder AI comes along, they start acting more and more human. They'll use feints. They will use group tactics. They will, you know, they'll use power, same as you got, you know. The AI is not to be messed with too much in this game. It is generally assumed that if you're decent at the game, you're better than the average AI, but there are a few of them that are pretty nasty and will challenge you. So, oh, sorry, feinting. I think the tutorial mentioned feinting earlier, but then I just sort of ignored it. Feinting basically is when you initiate an attack and then hit the guard button, so you cancel the attack. It's good for, you know, faking people out, basically. You know, it's good for confusing your intentions, and I am still very bad at it. I don't use it nearly enough. I should use it more. Okay, so here it's telling us about our avoid mechanic. We've already kind of been there. Kind of done that. Hee hee. Hee hee. Ow. Ah! The wind-up is a duck. Duck, damn you, duck. Come on, do it. I must do this right. And, you know, you can have your guard up at the same time. There's no reason why I shouldn't have my guard up. I'm just being dumb. Don't mind me. I did it again. Stop floundering, you fool. Yeah, like that. Now, if I wanted to stand here for a while, I could, like... You can basically farm someone. So if you find an opponent that has a move you want, and you find that you're able to predict the timing of that move, you're more than welcome to just sit there and farm them all day long. Now, there are people you will like other players will drop in and out. It's kind of like Dark Souls co-op, but they're actually in the same universe as you all the time. So sometimes they'll come by and they'll kill the person for you, you know, and maybe you don't want them to, but and that's kind of frustrating. But honestly, by and large, the players I have met, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 people, have been phenomenal. They've all been very nice. They've all been very accepting of my noobness, and they've been very helpful in teaching me. So honestly, right now the community seems fantastic. I really can't complain. Alright, so this guy likes high moves by the looks of it. Got a couple of low ones. So, I'm gonna duck that. We're gonna slide around that. So this is Ceylon, who, you know, as your first marked one, not so bad, but I have, unfortunately for him, fought many, many harder things than him. Some of them today, so I'm not even rusty. If this guy beat me, I would be very ashamed of myself, because, again, I'm not new. If you were new and you lose to him, that is 100% fine, because this game has a hell of a learning curve. It's as gentle with you as it probably can be, because, as I mentioned, you know, the game does let the AI scale up a little bit. So, like, you know, when you start off, you're not fighting anybody super impossible. But considering the game is very, very skill dependent, it's, you know, it's as nice as it can be. Ah, there's a shortcut back. Cool. Yeah, I think I ran the long way when I did this myself. Anyway. So, as you see, the orange marker has gone out, which means Ceylon has been bested by yours truly. So, come on through the door. Yes! Yeah! Oh, and who is this? Who have we here? Oh, and as you can see, there are different masks. Not everyone wears the basic-ass, sad little crack eye mask. Some people have cool things, like this guy. There's like a sun disk on his head. It's kind of neat looking. I am Talem. I will try to help you as you progress, but if you lose yourself to the fold, I won't be able to save you. Oh, no, the fold. Those who wear the mask are not all your enemies, you know. I will not attack you. Yeah, see, most of the enemies you fight are lost prospects, which basically means they're people like you, because you're a prospect. When you are safe, you can enter meditation and practice your combat deck. Because, see, they've sent people before to undertake these trials, and the ones who are lost along the way, or defect, or go mad, or whatever, are your enemies here. They are the NPC enemies. Alright, so we've unlocked the ability to meditate, and yes, I'm in a school right now. You don't start in a school, you can join one later on in the game. The reason I'm in one is because my main character is in one. The person who runs the school is called a Randir, who is actually another player. He is not, or he or she, I'm not, I mean, his character is male, so I will assume it is male. I apologize if I am wrong. He actually is one of the people I have met in this game, and I met him through a PvP match where he beat the crap out of me. And because, you know, I mean, he was nice enough to message me through Steam and be like, hey, what's up? You know, I thought that you're, you know, like, he messaged me and gave me some pointers. Now he's on my friends list, and he invited me to join his school. And it was amazing. Like, that's just an example of why this community is great. So, there are rewards, there are immediate things, all these things I don't really need to explain right this moment, because schools are kind of a later thing. They're nice, but it's not really the focus right now. The purpose of mentioning it was just being like, you know, the people in this game, the community is great. So, meditation. One of the nice things about meditating is you're invincible while you're meditating. You're still standing there in the world, but no one can hit you. You're off limits, which is just brilliant. Now, we can, because I am in a school, I have the bare hands deck from that school, so just kind of ignore that for right now. You'll start off with each one of these. Now, you'll see that there are war gloves and sword decks as well, but you don't have those yet, so don't worry about them. The bare hands deck is where we're starting, and that's just fine. So, hit practice, and a random schmo will come to stand in front of you and do nothing. He's just there to be your punching dummy. He moves, he reacts, he shifts around, but he doesn't really fight. So you can back up, and these are all the moves you have access to. Well, the squares are. As you level up, you will gain more squares, which means more places to put moves. Once you enter into the move thing, this is which moves you actually have the option of using. So if I wanted to go in depth, I could like take all these moves out, put them back in, explain to you the whole 9 yards of how it works, but that would take a long time. It's very involved, and there's a lot of tweaking involved, because basically you are building a martial art. You are building your own martial art. Which is why combat decks from other things like schools are nice, because basically someone else has taken the time and built the combat deck and said, look, this is the deck that I have made. I think it's good. Because you're part of my school, you can use it too. Which is very, very cool. Just gonna keep it basic for now, though, and explain things. So I'm on the top left corner right now, which is the direct punch. The direct punch is the first move that we use when we're in the upper right facing, as you can see from the little diamond square next to it on the left. Now, the square on the right with the little arrow in it shows you which facing you're in when you end the move. So it is still upper right, so nothing really changes. You transition right into the next move in the set, which is the cross punch, which has the added effect of stopping charging attacks, which again is something that you guys don't really understand yet, and that's fine, but the point is there are moves with special effects. So this one also ends you in the upper right quadrant, and so nothing really changes. If you just keep hitting X, you'll cycle between these two moves endlessly because you stay in the upper right quadrant. So you go direct punch, cross punch, and then you just go back around to the direct punch, and you'd be here all day doing the same thing. Now over here on the alternative attack side, you have you have the upper right quadrant alternative attack, which is the bending palm. So that's the one that obviously like she's acting it out for us right now. Because it's in the upper right quadrant slot, it's the one that would be triggered if I push the Y button after using these two moves, but it ends in the bottom left quadrant, which takes us down here to the surging palm, and the surging palm ends in the bottom right quadrant, which takes us down to the illusion twist kick, which ends back in the upper right quadrant, which is why when we use our moves, it cycles from this one to this one, to this one, back to this one again, and it goes around in a loop. Because basically every move has a requirement for where it starts and tells you where it finishes. And so you have to weave these moves together in this intricate dance of violence, and it's beautiful. So, you know, as mentioned, if I just keep pressing X, this is all that happens. I mean, if I get the timing, it gets, you know, better. But it's still just punch, 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 punch. If I throw in the Y button, we can actually get into a different rhythm, because the Y button takes us into something else. See? So if let's try XX. So main attack, alt attack, take us down here into the bottom left, which takes us to here, which is the Soto Uke. Which would also right see everything ends in right quadrant though, is kind of what I'm frustrated about. Let's put in a new move. Let's put in something that ends somewhere that's not the upper right quadrant. So none of these things take us into the upper left quadrant is the problem. So we can't start here. Or end up here, I should say. That's the jumped light kick. So let's go jumped light kick. Low kick. The low kick ends in the bottom left quadrant, which would put us back here. But we need something to get us into this quadrant. So let's try and get something that ends in the upper left. Like the hammer kick. Where's the hammer kick? That one is the hammer kick. So if I go XX, Y... Well, no, it's because nothing goes there either. Let's move these two around. Let's put the hammer kick up top. And put this one there. So now, if we go main attack, hammer kick, we can then transition down into either this one or these ones. So all of a sudden, from that one switch, you can now do... Hang on, I'm in the wrong quadrant, my bad. Upper right, okay. So punch, punch, hammer kick, and then you can get into your other kicks. And just from that being a thing, you can now transition between a bunch of different moves because you now have an option that doesn't just send you right back to the upper right quadrant. So you're able to move into other quadrants. So like if I go Y, then I get access to the bottom left guys, which will eventually put me back into the upper right quadrant again, which lets me, you know, basically it gives your moves some variety. So you go Y, X, and you'll just keep cycling around forever. So that's the basic idea of combat building. It is very in depth. There's a whole menu of tips you can go through. There's, you know, it's surprisingly intuitive, but it is hard to be really good at it because it is difficult, and it is meant to be difficult because, you know, that's just how it is. Now, we've also leveled up twice, so we have our attribute points. Now, you'll see numbers in the left hand, well, more in the middle, I guess, which is what your current base attribute is. Then you'll see a little circle. You'll notice above the letters, there is a circle with a little, like, squiggly line over top of it. That is the Windfall symbol. That is which combat style you're in, and the letter grades correspond to what that style is good at. So Windfall is a very mobile fighting style. It is good at being dexterous and quick. So it has an A grade in that, C grades in strength and will, and D's in vitality and endurance. You're a little bit flimsy, but you're very quick and you sting. You know, you're float like a butterfly, sting like a bee kind of a thing. Now, the letter grades you can take with kind of a grain of salt. They are important, but to a certain degree, you're going to want certain things anyway. Like vitality and endurance are just super good, no matter what stance you're in, or sorry, what fighting style you're using, because having more health is just, I mean, you can take more hits, and having more endurance is both how many moves you can chain together and how many you can block. So both of those things, super, super important. Cannot stress them enough. It is important to do damage, but the thing that's kind of interesting about this game is your damage is not just determined by your strength or dexterity. It is also determined by your mobility, which is not a stat you can influence directly through your attribute screen. You increase your mobility by changing what you're wearing. It is derived from your weight. So if you have more protective clothing, you will do less damage because you're heavier. So the trade-off is the lighter you are, the more vulnerable you are, but the more damage you do. Now, if you're a very, very good player and can reliably use your mechanic to avoid people's attacks, that's not a problem. If you suck, like me, then, you maybe want some armor. So to start with, we're just going to go ahead and put one into each of these. Well, you know, it doesn't matter too much right now. We're going to... Damage also goes up in fairly small increments. And I think it's actually average damage as opposed to actually, like, this is how much you do per hit. Because individual moves, that's one thing I forgot to show you guys. Individual moves... Oops. Individual moves also have... You'll notice over on the far right next to the cross punch name, it'll also show you letter grades next to a symbol. So like strength and dexterity are both E grades for cross punch. So if you know, you can even build your deck down to level of, okay, I want to specialize in strength. Let's find moves that scale better with strength. Like, let's see here. The straight punch, which we have not learned, but we've at least seen, scales B off of strength, C off of dexterity, and B off of mobility. So it specializes in you being, you know, light armored, but also high in strength. Dexterity is less important. So if you want to go, you know, be a light armored strength user, that's a good that is a good move for you. If you want to be more dexterity based, then you can go find moves like the Mawashi, which is, you know, a D scale with strength and a B scale with mobility, but is an S scaling with dexterity. So all these things come together to give you a lot of options, and it's beautiful, and I love that. So just for now, we're gonna go ahead and just, I don't know, let's one in dexterity. Oh, I should explain will as well. Okay, so what will does is, remember how I explained the shards, little glowing rocks hovering behind our ass there? Those are your source of your, not quite magic, but your, like, it's called tension. So the more you hit people, and to a lesser degree, the more they hit you, you gain tension, which recharges your shards and lets you use your magic or your powers. like heal or what have you. So will is what influences how fast they recharge. And that is important, but not maybe as much as the other stats. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that at a 6 for now. We're going to put one into endurance and one into dexterity, so I can hit a little bit harder and hit a little bit more. That's probably fine for the moment. Alright. So as you can see, we have some opponents up ahead here. Looks like 3 of them. Because, you know, they have to make sure you're ready to move on into the wider world, I guess. Now, if we stand here, we can only... No, they're all coming. Okay. So, like I said, the game does not really take it easy on you, you know? Your first encounter to get out of this area is 3 people. And they, you know, they're not all rushing me at once or anything like that, but there's still 3 of them. You know, it's not... See? There we go. And it gets tricky to know which way to dodge when you're fighting somebody who's not actually like directly in front of you. Because if he's to your right, do you still dodge left? I mean, these are things I'm not even that sure of yet. Oh, and yes, you may notice that the enemies can hit each other, which is a totally valid strategy. Ow. And ducking too soon, also a bad thing. Come on. Come on. Okay, so okay. Because we did some fancy footwork there, we have unlocked the jab punch. I believe we unlocked the wind-up punch or whatever it was called as well off the first guy. So just to go check it out, let's have a look-see. We have learned the jab punch. There it is. There, the little blinking gold circle in the top right corner. It indicates a new move. So the jab punch has been unlocked. It is a B scale with strength, a C scale with dexterity, and an A scale with mobility. It is very, very fast, very, very light. And now if we go into the details section, which is by clicking down the right thing, it gives you a more detailed splat of like what it does. The range, the stamina cost, the impact on guard. And if there's an existing move in that slot, it'll even compare it for you, which is pretty dang good. Now, did we hit the big punch as well? Maybe, but not in that slot. Now, that is one thing I'm not quite so good at determining just yet, but depending on where things are, you won't be able to use them. Like, some moves just aren't starting moves, and depending on which quadrant your starting move ends you up in, you may not be able to use other moves. So, again, if you want to build your own kung fu style, your own martial art, it is best to just take it all out, you know, basically empty out your combat deck and build it from scratch. I'm just kind of throwing things in kind of haphazardly. There it is, the spinning wide hook. That's the big old wind-up punch you just got. Does a massive, massive amount of damage, but it takes a long time to wind up. Really, really easy to block, and people who are any kind of decent will see it coming a mile away and will either avoid it or use their mechanic on you. But still, if you can manage to get it off on them, then it's going to hurt like hell, you know? So, everything's a trade-off in this game. And that's more or less the basics of it. From here on out, you just go off into the wider world. You can run, and it'll give you the whole thing, because we're heading for the Tower of Adal. But for now, off into the... See, there's the tower over there. So we're gradually getting closer to the Tower of Adal. We go through the woods and through the ruins of this fallen civilization, which is pretty cool as well. There's a lot of pretty places. Each area has its own vibe and its own personality, which I like as well. I'm a big fan of. Overall, it's a really solid game, and the one thing I suppose I should mention, I should stress, while I do enjoy it a lot, I have also gotten very angry at it on a few occasions, because as the AI gets smarter, the group fights do get quite challenging. The versus other people matches, because, I mean, just running around, you will see other people, and they're usually friendly, but sometimes they will attack you. Not usually, although, I mean, I've only been outright ambushed by one person so far, and I track them down and beat the crap out of them later. So, you know, it kind of works out. But there are also combat trials where you deliberately fight one specific other person at a time, which is always PvP. And those ones are actually really fun as well, and they're a great way to grow and improve your own skill. But occasionally you will fight someone who utterly ruins you, and it is a bitter pill to swallow. Like, I think I accidentally went a few rounds with the regional champ the other day, because Arandir was saying that the one person I fought had won the North American regional tournament or whatever, the last time it was held. And I fought that person, and she or he, again, the character was female, I am assuming. I apologize if I am wrong. They utterly annihilated me. Like it wasn't even like a contest. It was just, hey, guess what? You're dead now. Because they were so much better than me. And that's what skill does for you in this game. And it really is impressive. So you have these altars around the place. These are basically your, not quite save stations, but you can use them to communicate with people. So like this is where you access the combat trials, your social lists. You have essences, which is for like which is basically Essence more or less lets you expend. There's in the bottom left corner you'll see crystals and fragments. Those are special currencies. You get crystals by leveling up past level 60. I haven't gotten it yet myself, even on my main character. Fragments you get by breaking down the armor you find, and you can use those to basically just sort of dye your clothes or buy other things. Like here, you can buy this mask for 10,000 fragments. And honestly, considering I've been doing that for like I've been playing for what, like 2 days, and I have 2,000 or 3,000 fragments, it's not super hard to get them. So it's not a frustrating system, which is good. These you get through combat trials. You know, I mean, it's all stuff you just kind of pick up on as you go. So like here we have our equipment. We haven't got all of our slots, you know, filled, but we're in basic prospect stuff. You know, prospect shoes, trousers, tunic, gloves, undertop, and your mask. And it's all basically what you start out in. You know, and all pretty simple. We don't have a weapon yet. You know, or anything like that, yada yada yada. These are your powers. You only have one to start with, and that's more or less how the game starts. To give you an idea of where you end up, or well, not end up because I'm not even finished with my main guy yet. But to give you an idea of what things look like when you're a little bit further along, let me just go ahead and delete Southern Foot here because I'm not going to use her. Carefully, do not destroy regular guy. Right, Northern Fist. Why is there a -1 version? Whatever. Right, continue. We load the right one. I hope so. I've never actually made a second character before, so I apologize for being a little bit like, what the hell am I doing? Okay, this is my main character, Northern Fist Matt, courtesy of Steve, by the way. Steve gave me the name. Now, he doesn't look like much. He's got kind of a goofy mask on because of armor reasons, basically. But I'll give you the rundown. So, as you can see, we have something in every slot. That itself, nothing to get too excited about. He's level 55 currently. This is a sword you unlock by completing the story mode. But you also get other things along the way. I was fortunate enough to get these Spike Turtle War Gloves off of one of the marked opponents that you fight along the way in story. He's got the full range of powers. He's, you know, healing, shockwave, gravity, silence. You know, they're individually useful for different things. The emotes are the same. That hasn't changed yet because I'm not 60 yet, so I can't do that stuff. But let me give you an example of what his fighting style has started to look like. His stats, I've kept them fairly balanced. But his combat deck. Now, I am using the combat deck of my school, which was Arandir's school, as mentioned. So it's not actually my combat deck right now, but what it starts to look like is you have 3 slots in every quadrant, on top of the alternate attacks over here as well. So, you know, instead of being like punch, 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 it's like, you know, if I can actually be good at this, hang on. There it goes. You know, and this is how Arandir's deck works. You know, he's got moves from various schools because it's a Forsaken based school, so it's the fighting style that parries, but he's got moves taken from other schools as well. So, you know, you get to the point where you just kind of get the hang of chaining. I'm still learning his style, so I'm not yet a master of how to chain between them. But you kind of get the hang of it as you go, for sure. But as an example, let me show you one other thing, I guess, before we wrap this up. There are, of course, all 4 fighting styles here. The Forsaken, the Kahlt method, the Windfall, but after you unlock a certain thing, there's a particular NPC you can defeat, which will unlock a specific door, which is kind of hidden, not like fully hidden, but it's not exactly like on the main path. And that unlocks the Stagger style, or rather, it gives you the option of joining the school of a man named Rakio. And Rakio, he's the only NPC in the game to actually have a school of his own. He's the one that runs the Stagger school. And it basically gives you the Drunken boxing style. And its mechanic maybe isn't like the best ever, because oops, hang on. Let me show you what I mean. So unlike the Parry and Avoid and Absorb, this one gives you special attacks, where if you dodge left, you just kind of like you move like a drunk. You're kind of tipsy turvy, wobbly, and you kind of whoops, oh sorry, and you stagger into people, and you kind of drunken, you kind of drunk yourself around. Now the actual moves still look the way that they always do, but if you build your deck full of moves that are from that style, you can go full Drunken boxing if you want to. And I have fought one person so far who had a full Drunken boxing deck, and he ruined me. It was awful. It was fun, but like I fought that guy. I think we went through 8 rounds, and I think I beat him 4 times. Like, sorry, 8 matches, and each match is a best first to 3 wins. So I beat him 4 rounds. He won all 8 matches. So and I should note that 2 of those wins were because. What was right? Because you don't heal between rounds, so 2 of those wins were just me managing to finally get him down after like the whole match. One of them was I managed to trick him and pushed him off the side of a cliff, and the 4th one was he drew his sword, which of course swords have their own deck with their own series of moves. So if he uses a sword, it changes up what he does, and his bare-handed deck was a lot more problematic for me, but his sword deck not so bad. So wasn't a problem. But I guess just to kind of expand on that point, as you can see, I have war gloves, which are basically just hand guards. You still fight more or less the same way with these, but you do extra damage because there's 2 types of damage in the game. There's blunt and there's cut, and only weapons can do cut damage. And it's also harder to block because you'll still take a portion of the damage unless you're also using your weapon. So here's our sword. And you still do punch and kick moves, but there are specific sword moves you can weave in there as well. And that's just part of the deluge of information I've just dropped on your doorstep. And I know, it's a lot to take in. There is so much to this game. Like, it's simple to kind of grasp, but it's really, really hard to be really good at it, because I've been playing this all day. Most of yesterday, and I still like. Oh, here, like it's. Let me find you an NPC that is at more or less the level that I've been playing at, and this is the Tower of Adal that we're in right now. So, is there 2 of you or just 1 of you? 1 is fine. I can deal with 1 of you, maybe. Come on, don't suck in front of the people on the TV or on the computer, on YouTube. Now, I will confess, I have been playing as Windfall for most of my time on here. A little bit with Kahlt method and a little bit as Stagger. So having to parry stuff is a little bit of a foreign concept for me. I am not very good at it yet. So as such, I am bad, and I apologize. Now, he's using big old wind-up moves I should be able to easily counter, but I am playing like crap at the moment, so obviously not happening. Okay. We won, despite me sucking all kinds of dong. Let me go back and heal real quick before we do anything else, because that was embarrassing. But just to kind of show you what I mean, they're significantly more skilled than the ones you start out at, is basically the point that I'm making. And they don't, and it's not Dark Souls that they will not respawn if you go and heal. They do respawn, but not because of you healing. It's kind of a gradual thing. So, you know, you can gradually make your way through an area, fighting one opponent at a time. And see, they use their own mechanics. So, like, you will fight people who have Parry. You will fight people who have Absorb. You'll fight people who have Avoid. Ah, I actually blocked that one. You know, the NPCs can pretty much do anything you can do. Like, they each belong to a school, and once you unlock the Stagger school, you'll even fight some of them that have Stagger moves. Bye-bye. No, well, it's not a very big fall, so she's fine. And yes, falling off of stuff does hurt. Fall damage, I have died to fall damage a truly amazing number of times, so definitely a thing to watch out for. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up now, because if I don't, I'll keep playing this all day, and you guys will be stuck watching me all day, because this game sucks you in so fast. If you enjoy any kind of a game that encourages you to get better, to grow, to challenge yourself, this game will suck you in and never let you go, because you will want to get better. You'll get mad when you die, when you lose, because every time you lose, generally, it's because you can recognize in yourself what you haven't done, like the things you haven't mastered yet. And that frustrates you, but it also encourages you to do better, and it's great. It's one of the reasons I love Dark Souls so much. It's the same kind of feeling, you know. Mouse pointer, why are you here? Go away. You know, and so that's more or less my take on Absolver. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video for what it was, just kind of me gushing about this game I've been playing the last few days, because it really is. It's been a ton of fun, and it's maddening and frustrating, and like it's been to the point where I've had to like put it down for just the sake of not, you know, picking up my monitor and throwing it across the room, because you get so mad. But it's so good. I don't know. I can't explain it any better than that. You know, you want to do good, but you just can't sometimes, because you fight people or situations that you're just not up to beating yet, and it pisses you off, but in a way that really makes you feel like, you know, I want to go back and do it again. I want to go back and do it again. I want to go back and do it again. Because every time you do it, you get better. You learn something, and that's so amazing. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but like, that's something that I really appreciate about a game. So, you know, to Slow Clap, who are the devs of this game, thank you and good job, because this game is amazing, and I'm sure that my approval means nothing to you, but it's still an amazing game. So thanks so much for now, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this off here. I'll just go ahead and drop this. I'm not even sure what day I'm gonna put this up on, so it's at some point during the week. It'll be like, ta-da, Absolver, ta-da. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, you guys, and for now, I'm MonsterMatt out. Bye-bye!